This is sad news this morning. Mitchell Geist died on Monday in Louisiana. Now, if you don't follow the show Swamp People, it's a really popular History Channel TV series.
The swamp never stays the same, and neither did the people who called it home. Over the years, familiar faces disappeared, new hunters took their place, and some of the biggest names from Swamp People faced tragedies, personal struggles, and life-changing moments far from the cameras. By 2026, the show had changed in ways few fans ever expected, even as it continued into its 17th season.
The hit History Channel show Swamp People follows men and women as they risk their lives hunting alligators to earn a living.
So where is the Swamp People cast today? And what really happened to the hunters who helped make the series a television phenomenon? Join us as we uncover where the Swamp People cast is now. Troy Landry, the king who never left the throne. 15 seasons of Swamp People, and the one constant that has never changed is Troy Landry on his boat in the swamps around Pierre Part, Louisiana, shouting the phrase that became the show's defining verbal signature. "Shoot 'em!" Two words that started as his actual on-water command to his helpers and became, over 15 seasons, one of the most recognizable phrases in the history of reality television. Troy has spent the last 3 decades earning his reputation as king of the swamp men. Working out of Pierre Part, a small community deep in the swamp close to Donaldsonville and Thibodaux near Lake Verret. He was born into this world. His father was a gator hunter. His sons became gator hunters. The Landry name and the alligator hunting tradition in that part of Louisiana are so intertwined that separating them is not really a meaningful exercise. What television added to Troy Landry's life was not just the hunting, it was the business that grew around hunting. He now sells Shoot 'em branded merchandise, hats, shirts, koozies, decals, and signed photographs, to a national audience that discovered him through the show and has stayed loyal across 15 seasons. He does gator tours, he appears at events. He has built a small enterprise around an identity that the show made national, while the identity itself remained entirely local and entirely genuine. The show he anchors is now in its 17th season. Troy Landry is still on the boat, still calling the shots, still pulling gators. He is the reason the show exists, and the reason it continues. However, a legacy only lasts if someone is ready to carry it forward. For Troy Landry, that person has been standing beside him since the very beginning. Jacob Landry, the son who grew up on camera. When Swamp People began, Jacob Landry was a teenager learning the trade alongside his father. By the time the show reached its 15th season, he had become one of its primary cast members in his own right, a fully formed swamper with his own boat, his own expertise, and his own family, watching him the same way he once watched Troy. Jacob appears in season 15, leading Troy's hunting operation alongside his father, which is the most natural possible evolution of the show's original family dynamic. The generational handoff that Troy always represented, the preservation of a way of life through direct transmission from father to son, is now visible in Jacob's presence on screen, in a way that adds something to the show's emotional texture that a cast of strangers never could. He has built his own social media presence, interacting with fans who have watched him grow up across 15 years of television, and has become one of the faces the franchise puts forward when it talks about what the show represents. The continuation of the Cajun hunting tradition into a generation that grew up partially on camera. As Jacob settled into the role of Troy's successor, another Landry was writing a very different chapter. Chase became known not just for what happened on the boat, but for a personal story that few viewers saw coming. Chase Landry, the one who found love in the swamp. Chase Landry, Troy's younger son, has provided Swamp People with some of its most consistently engaging storylines, both on the water and off it. He appeared across the show's middle seasons as the Landry who brought the most unpredictability to the boat, and his personal life eventually produced a development that gave the show's fan community something they genuinely did not expect. Chase has been in a relationship with Cheyenne, Pickle Wheat, since October 2020, and Pickle subsequently joined the cast of Swamp People beginning in season 12. She came from genuine swamp heritage. Her great-grandfather was one of the original alligator hunters in the St. Bernard Parish area, meaning the relationship was not simply a romantic subplot grafted onto a hunting show. It was two swampers from the same tradition finding each other and then appearing on camera together. Pickle, who is also known as Pee-wee, has become one of the most popular cast members the show has added in recent seasons, one of only a few women featured prominently, bringing a combination of genuine competence in the swamp and an on-screen personality that the audience responded to immediately. She and Chase have a child together. The family they are building is the next chapter of the Landry legacy in the show's ongoing narrative. The show's future may rest with the next generation of hunters, but its identity was built by the pioneers who came first. And few shaped Swamp People more than Junior Edwards. Junior Edwards, the absence that changed the show. Not everyone who shaped Swamp People in its formative years is still on the water. Junior Edwards was one of the show's original cast members, present from the first season, instrumental in establishing the show's specific tone and the specific world it was documenting. His son, Willie Edwards, carried that legacy forward, appearing in over 100 episodes across multiple seasons. Junior Edwards died in 2021. He had been a foundational presence in the show's first decade, and his passing marked the first significant loss of an original cast member from natural causes. The show documented the impact of his death on the Edwards family and on the broader community of swampers the series had brought together across 11 seasons. Willie Edwards has continued to appear in Swamp People following his father's death, carrying the Edwards presence in the show into its later seasons. The quality of continuing to do the work that your father did, in the place where he did it, surrounded by the people he did it with, is the most direct expression of what Swamp People has always been documenting at its core. Not just alligator hunting, but generational continuity in a place that is changing rapidly around people who are trying to hold something specific in place. But the cycle of one generation replacing another is not always allowed to unfold as expected. Sometimes that continuity is interrupted far too soon. Randy Edwards, the loss that nobody was ready for. The death of Randy Edwards hit the Swamp People community differently from Junior's passing, because Randy was young. Randy Edwards was 35 years old at the time of his passing, a fact that the show's fan base processed with the shock that comes when someone who was on your television screen as a young, healthy person disappears from the world at an age when disappearing is not supposed to be a possibility. The circumstances of his death and the timeline of his involvement with the show placed his passing in the category of losses that change how fans relate to the people they watch. Not as entertainers performing danger for cameras, but as real human beings whose real lives include real mortality at ages, and in ways that the production schedule has no framework for accommodating. His death added to the growing weight of absence that Swamp People carries into its later seasons. The original cast slowly thinning, the faces that built the show's audience gradually being replaced by the next generation, while the grief of the previous generation's losses accumulates in the background. As the original cast gradually changed, new personalities stepped in, not to replace those who had been lost, but to bring their own stories and traditions to the swamp. R.J. Molinaire, the two-time world champion, who brought something different. R.J. Molinari arrived on Swamp People in Season 2 and immediately established himself as someone the show had not seen before. A Native American hunter from the Houma area, R.J. is a two-time world champion arm wrestler who brought his own specific combination of physical power and deep cultural connection to the Louisiana swamp world that is distinct from the Cajun heritage most of the show's other cast members represent. He hunted alongside his son, J. Paul Molinaire, an expert sharpshooter whose precision in the boat complemented R.J.'s brute physical presence. The father-son dynamic between R.J. and J. Paul was one of the show's most compelling recurring relationships. Two people who communicated through decades of shared experience, who each understood their role in the boat without needing to discuss it, who made extremely difficult work look like the most natural thing in the world, because for them, it was. R.J. appeared in 109 episodes of Swamp People across multiple seasons, making him one of the show's longer-serving cast members. J. Paul appeared in 78 episodes. Their tenure on the show established the Molinaire name as one of the definitive faces of the franchise, and the specific culture they represented, the Native American tradition of working this swamp that predates the Cajun tradition by centuries, gave the show a depth of context that most reality television never reaches for. The Molinaires proved there was more than one tradition shaping Louisiana's swamps. Then there was Bruce Mitchell, a hunter whose story wasn't defined by family partnerships, but by the decision to go it alone. Bruce Mitchell, the loner who found a partner. Bruce Mitchell was the Swamp People original who hunted alone, a lifelong swamper who hunts in the areas around Hammond, Louisiana, near Ponchatoula. His reputation in the early seasons was built on his status as a renegade, an experienced gator hunter who operated by his own rules in his own territory, without the family partnerships that defined most of the show's other hunters. What changed was Ron Methvin. Beginning in Season 3, Bruce was accompanied by Ron, a trained sharpshooter and military veteran who had served in Afghanistan and who brought a different kind of discipline and precision to the boat, alongside Bruce's lifetime of swamp knowledge. The combination worked in ways that neither of them might have predicted. The self-sufficient loner and the military-trained veteran finding a working partnership that produced better results than either of them achieved separately. Bruce appeared in 112 episodes of Swamp People across his run on the show, with Ron alongside him through much of that stretch. If Bruce Mitchell stood out for doing things his own way, Liz Cavalier stood out for breaking expectations altogether. In a world dominated by male hunters, she built a reputation that demanded respect. Liz Cavalier, the woman who ran her own operation. In a show that was heavily male-dominated in its early seasons, Liz Cavalier established herself as one of the most distinctive and capable presences on the water. She hunted with 425 gator tags allocated to her operation, a significant commercial commitment, and ran multiple boats, with her husband Justin captaining a second vessel while she ran her own. Liz appeared in 94 episodes of Swamp People, covering the show's first decade in a way that established her as one of its foundational presences. Her daughter Jessica helped in the boat during some seasons. Her friend Christy Broussard, a former Navy veteran who owned a ranch in South Louisiana where she broke horses, brought another strong female presence into the orbit of Liz's storylines. Liz stepped away from the show's regular cast after Season 11, but remains a figure that the show's longtime fans forever make reference to. But as unique as Liz Cavalier was, Swamp People still had one cast member who defied every expectation. Glenn Gist wasn't just different from the rest of the cast, he was unlike anyone viewers had ever seen on reality television. Glenn Gist, the most unusual person on the most unusual show. In any honest assessment of the Swamp People cast across 15 seasons, Glenn Gist occupies a category of his own. He appeared in 72 episodes across the show's middle seasons, worked alongside Liz Cavalier and Justin as a swamper's swamper, and brought to the show a personality so genuinely unusual that even within the specific cultural world of Louisiana gator hunting, he stood out as someone who was operating on his own particular frequency. His connection to the swamp people world was through working with Liz Cavalier's husband, Justin, and their extended operation. And what he contributed to the show was something that no production team could have scripted. The completely genuine quality of a person who has been shaped by a very particular life into someone that the rest of the world has no easy category for. Reality television is most compelling when it finds people like Glenn Gist and simply points a camera at them and steps back. Unfortunately, he has been less present in recent seasons, but remains one of the figures that fans of the show's early years cite most immediately when they describe what made swamp people feel like something real rather than something assembled. The cast members who built Swamp People gave the series its identity. The challenge was finding someone who could carry that identity into a new era. That person turned out to be Cheyenne Pickle Wheat. Cheyenne Pickle Wheat, the new generation's star. If Troy Landry represents what Swamp People was at the beginning, Cheyenne Pickle Wheat represents what it has become. She joined the cast in season 12, 2021, and the audience response to her presence was immediate and enthusiastic enough to establish her, within a few seasons, as one of the franchise's most talked about personalities. She comes from genuine heritage. Her great-grandfather was one of the original alligator hunters in the St. Bernard Parish area, which means her presence in the swamp is not a production decision to add a young woman to a male-dominated cast. It is the continuation of a family tradition that predates the show by generations. She knows this water, she knows this work, and the confidence she carries on screen is the confidence of someone who has been absorbing this knowledge since childhood. Her relationship with Chase Landry, confirmed since October 2020, connected two of the show's major families in a way that the production could not have engineered, even if it had wanted to. Two swampers from Louisiana's gator hunting heritage, both now on camera, with a child between them, and the specific story of a tradition being carried forward by another generation, playing out in real time in front of the show's audience. She has built her own presence outside the show, a social media following, appearances at events, the beginning of a public profile that extends beyond her time on History Channel. But the thing that makes her compelling is the same thing that makes everyone on Swamp People compelling when the show is working at its best. The evidence that what she is doing on screen is not performance. It is her actual life. While the faces of Swamp People have changed over the years, so has the swamp itself. And by season 17, those changes had become impossible to ignore. The Season 17 World, Swamp People. Season 17 debuted on January 7, 2026, and the world the show is documenting has changed in ways that the original 2010 season could not have fully anticipated. Louisiana's wetlands are under sustained environmental pressure, coastal erosion, rising water levels, the ecological consequences of decades of oil industry activity and climate change, combining to reshape the physical geography of the place these hunters have worked their entire lives. The alligator hunting season itself has adapted. Louisiana divides its territory into East and West zones, with the East Zone opening the last Wednesday of August and the West Zone opening the first Wednesday in September, each remaining open for 60 days from the opening date. The 30-day season that the original show documented has given way to a longer window, reflecting both the management of the gator population and the economic realities of an industry that needs more time to make the numbers work. The hunters who appear on season 17 are carrying phones and using GPS systems that the original cast never had. But the core reality of what they do, going out before sunrise, working lines through water that is simultaneously home and danger, pulling gators that can kill you if the sequence goes wrong, processing the catch and accounting for the tags, and doing it all again tomorrow, that has not changed in any meaningful way since the first season. The show that was uncertain about its own viability in 2010 has now produced 244 episodes across 15 seasons and launched a 17th, following multiple spin-offs, including Swamp People, Serpent Invasion, which chronicles the Burmese python crisis in Florida's Everglades and extended the franchise's reach into a completely different ecological emergency. The work that the cameras found was happening before the cameras arrived, and it will keep happening after they eventually leave. For many viewers, Swamp People was never just about catching alligators. It was about watching families preserve a way of life that grows rarer with each passing season. Which cast member's story stayed with you the most? And who do you miss seeing on the swamp? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.